We are live. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita, and welcome to Medical Monday, where we do celebrity health news and we go over all of the hot health topics in the headlines. Boy, do we have a lot of headlines today. Many not so happy, but all of them will provide you some education, some evidence-based medical information that can enhance your lives and the lives of your loved ones. We'll start off talking about the tragic story of Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Yes, America's favorite brother. We know that he passed away suddenly and unexpectedly due to an accidental drowning. And so we'll talk about some drowning safety tips, and we'll talk about rip currents, how to recognize them, and if you get caught in one, how to protect yourself. And then, of course, we'll do our myth versus fact, because there's a lot of things folks need to learn about these rip currents. Next, we'll get into your weekly dose. Well, I'll give you a fresh take on the headlines you simply can't get anywhere else. We'll open up talking about Hulk Hogan. Yes, the wrestling icon Hulk Hogan. He reportedly died from cardiac arrest at the age of 71. Some reports said cardiac arrest initially, some reports said heart attack. So we'll talk about the difference between cardiac arrest and heart attacks. And there's been a lot of controversy, things that are going on about his memory, his legacy. And I will be honest, and I'll share with you some opinions that I have about Hulk Hogan based on words that came out of his mouth, words that he stated. And of course, regardless of my opinions, I'll always give you evidence-based medicine when it comes to the health in the headlines so you can live your healthiest, happiest life. Then we'll talk about a story that really just about ripped my heart out of my chest. A beautiful little 3-year-old baby boy was in the care of an Alabama state worker. Okay, he was in foster care, and that child was left in her car with the windows up in the heat for 5 hours, and he passed away. Now, I've shared information on this, and a lot of people are outraged. Oh, how can you leave a baby in the car? I'd never leave a child in the car. But truth of the matter is, a lot of adults will run out into a store real quickly. They don't feel like waking up their baby and going through that, and they'll leave their child in the car for what they think will be a few seconds, a few minutes, and children pass away every single year from being left in hot cars. And so I'll talk to you about some safety when it comes to cars and the importance of never leaving a child alone in a car. And then we'll do a story on Ann Burrell. You know, we talked about her when she passed away, this famous chef and actually a bit of a comedian from what we understand. Well, now the final report is back on her cause of not being alive. And the report is that she took her own life. And so we'll talk about depression, and we'll talk about signs of a person wanting to take their own life and ways that we can help, okay? If it's you who's thinking about it, ways that you can help yourself, and how to identify signs in others that they might actually be depressed to the point of feeling so much hopelessness that they want to take their own lives. And then we will talk about something else. Steps. Y'all know that I'm on here always talking about exercise. And for the longest time, people have talked about 10,000 steps being the minimum to really get that heart going. But now there's new information that taking 7,000 steps can do all kinds of things for your health, your heart, for your memory. And so I'll ask you kind of what you are doing for your health. And do you think this 7,000 steps as opposed to 10,000 steps is a good thing? And of course, we are live. And so you can ask me questions. I'm going to ask you questions. Most importantly, we're going to use this time to build healthier, happier lives. I'm Dr. Frita. Give us a like as we get started. This is Medical Monday. Hello. Come on in. I'm Dr. Frita. We are live. Welcome to Medical Monday. We're talking about celebrity health news. I'm giving you the hot health topics in the headlines, and I'm not doing it alone. To my co-host and my office manager, Miss Shador, come on to the front of the stage, por favor. Hey there, Shador.
Hey, Dr. Frita. Hi, everyone.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I hope you had a good weekend.
Well, I had ordinary. Yes, we did. So school's starting back soon. So we did a quick trip to the beach for a couple of days, and then took the little one to meet with many of his younger cousins that he never really played with, his toddler cousins, and did a trip for the Paw Patrol experience. So that was pretty nice.
Did he enjoy that?
He did. They all enjoyed Paw Patrol. That's their thing. So yeah, they enjoyed it, and then we, went and got some food afterwards.
That's a good time. So y'all had a pack-filled weekend. Normally you come in here and say, "Oh, I relaxed." You didn't
Yeah,
relax this weekend.
relaxing. I now
Not
need
with
some
3-year-old.
relaxing.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny, Shador, when because I remember when my kids were little, you go to these places and they're excited to see their heroes, but sometimes in life form, the humans that are in the costumes can be overwhelming and sometimes even a little scary
Mhm.
to kids. And so you never really know how it's gonna go. So I'm glad y'all had a good time. Yeah. What did I do this weekend? Did I have fun? Oh, I did have fun. I had an enjoyable weekend. Did we do some relaxation? Yeah, we did some relaxation. Did a lot of eating. Did some back to school shopping, Shador. Shador, I don't like to shop. I don't. I
Yeah.
like to have things, but I don't like to shop. So of course, everybody's out there at the mall and you look and your kids are buying new shoes, buying new clothes. I'm fussing, but they really have outgrown clothes. But it's funny when my youngest daughter had found some items that she wanted, she texted me a few little, outfits here, outfits there. And she's like, Mama, is it okay if I get these outfits for back to jail? I'm like, what?
Oh my goodness.
They're going back to school. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I'll tell you what I'm not excited about, Shador. Some of these headlines are
Mhm.
really tragic, okay? Because we've lost a lot of lives this week. We lost a lot of, of lives, excuse me. But I am dedicated, though, as you know, to using this platform to take whatever health news that's in the headlines, be it tragic or positive, use it, break it down, and share it so that everyone who comes, who watches, who follows can use the information to learn, to have healthier lives, and to share it with loved ones. And so we will go ahead and get started. But first, Shador, who was the first one in the chat?
First in the chat today is Planet Life. Hello.
Planet Life, honey. We need life today because we had a lot of loss this week. Welcome.
Absolutely. Planet Life said, let's give Dr. Frita and Shador our biggest support. So thank you for that, Planet Life.
Oh, that's so kind. You know what, Planet Life, I appreciate that. You know what, sometimes Planet Life, you don't know. Sometimes people just need to hear just words, just positive words, supportive words. I appreciate you for that. All right. Shall we go ahead and get started?
Let's jump in it.
Let's jump in. And listen, medheads, y'all already know what it is. I want y'all to participate because we'll start off playing our little game, myth versus fact. But first, I do want to acknowledge what we're going to be talking about first is, the tragedy that hit with Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And we know that we first met him and loved him as Theo Huxtable of The Cosby Show. But of course, he was so much more than that. He was a father. He was a husband. He was a musician. He played bass. He actually won a Grammy. He won a Grammy, Shador. He also was a podcaster. And if you go back and you watch his channel, you'll see that he had all kinds of poetry and just deep thought for the well-being of his people. He was also very introspective and he seemed genuine. Like I know he was on the Sherry Shepherd show and he was talking about how he had called Felicia Rashad and was like, how do you deal with hopelessness? He was pretty honest and transparent about his emotions. Just a very well-loved person. And I know for me growing up, I used to love me some Theo on the Cosby Show. He was the only brother having to deal with the characters, Denise, Vanessa, Rudy. And I want y'all to please just click in the comments your favorite Cosby Show scene. I know for me, it was the Gordon Gartrell shirt. And look, Shador, I know this is before your time. Maybe you saw some reruns of the Cosby Show, but it was, really huge because we have been used to seeing Black television shows with the families always in struggle. We saw them always trying to make it, almost there, but got laid off by the man, almost there, but didn't have enough money. It was just, always just struggle if you were going to have a family. And those shows were iconic and very important, and I enjoyed them. But what the Cosby Show did is it was aspirational. You had the father, Bill Cosby, who was a physician. You had the mother, Felicia Rashad played the mother, Claire Huxtable, who was an attorney. And then you just had kids going through real problems, and they did it with affluence and not with struggle. And so it was just a real aspirational thing. And of course, families do exist like that. And, I always say, Shador, if you don't see it, you can't be it. And so I know that show reached the lives of many children who maybe didn't have Black doctors in their lives, or maybe they didn't have Black female lawyers in their lives. And so it was just a positive show. So, yeah, mine was the Gordon Gartrell, where he made this shirt. When he wanted to buy this shirt, Denise said that she was going to make him a shirt just like it for a discounted price. That shirt looked a complete mess, but it's just the acting in it was great. So yeah, y'all put in the comments some of your favorite scenes. Another one of my favorites was when they did a lip syncing song, and then Rudy came up and she was singing "Baby." Anyway. All right. But what we do know, sadly, is that Malcolm-Jamal Warner was vacationing in Costa Rica with his family. And we now know that he was actually swimming at the beach with his daughter, his 8-year-old daughter. And he was swimming in it was one of the most dangerous beaches. All this is coming out now. Playa Cocles, okay, off of the Atlantic coast of Limon, Costa Rica, okay? And apparently they got caught in a rip current. And there were surfers there, and they were able to pull his young daughter to safety. And they tried to rescue him. We had lifeguards. There happened to be, 2 doctors. And reportedly, they did CPR on Malcolm-Jamal Warner, performed CPR for 45 minutes, but they weren't able to save him. They were able to save his daughter. And so let's go ahead and play that clip, just kind of talking a little bit about Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And then we'll get into our myth versus fact about rip currents, because it's summertime, it's beach season. Oh, shoot, you and your family just left the beach, Shador. And the rip current information is really not common knowledge. And so we'll use this point to share. But let's look at this clip on Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
Warner, an accident. The actor was in the water off this beach Sunday when the current swept him to sea in an area known for potentially dangerous conditions.
We have about 3 currents that are predominantly always there. And the one that Mr. Warner was in was one of those.
Mike Geist runs the volunteer lifeguard group that watches this region's coastline. He says while no one from the group was on duty at the time, his friend, a trained lifeguard, went out on a surfboard and found Warner unresponsive underwater.
The first thing that they do is they bring him to the surface and give the emergency respirations.
Right there in the water.
When he didn't respond to that, my friend rapidly took him into the beach, and they immediately began CPR.
Officials say a distress call came into 911 at 2:10 p.m. Once on scene, the Costa Rican Red Cross attempted to resuscitate the 54-year-old. The Red Cross also saying it had to treat another man on the scene who was then transported to a local clinic in critical condition. Meanwhile, officials determining Warner died from asphyxiation by submersion during what was supposed to be a vacation. Warner's tragic passing met by a growing number of tributes to the actor affectionately remembered as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show.
Okay, Olivia, let's go. Uncle Theo's taking you to the village.
There you go.
All right. So now let's talk about rip currents. We'll go ahead, Shador, and we'll share some of this information for the myth versus fact. And then we will talk about rip currents, how to protect yourselves from them, and really share what you need to know. All right, let's open up the first one, please.
All right. Statement 1. If you're caught in a rip current, you should swim straight back to the shore as hard as you can.
All right. Myth versus fact. If you're caught in the shore, you should swim straight back. Go straight back to the shore as quickly as you can. M1 if you think it's a myth. F1 if you think it's a fact. All right. Myth versus fact. Statement number 2.
Rip currents are responsible for over 80% of surf beach rescues in the U.S.
That's a lot of rescues, Shador.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are rip currents responsible for 80% of those? It's a big number. M2 if that's a myth. F2 if that's a fact. All right, pencils down, pencils down.
Yeah, one more, Dr. Frita.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
An area of the ocean that looks calm and safe can actually be a rip current.
All right, M3 if this is a myth. F3 if this is a fact. An area that looks calm and safe can actually be a rip current. M3 if that's a myth. F3 if that's a fact. All right, pencils down, pencils down. All right, as we get ready to get into these answers, I just want to address some comments. Now, for those of you who've been watching me or following me or subscribed to me for a while, you know that as soon as current events come up, you know that I take my time, I grab those events, and I try to find the learning part of it, right? I try to find the evidence in it. And I got some comments that I haven't gotten before, to my knowledge, when it came to me posting here on YouTube a short about Malcolm-Jamal Warner and some tips for drowning safety, okay, how to prevent drowning in natural water. And one of the comments, first it said helpful information, so it acknowledged that I was giving helpful information, but then the person stated that it was poor timing, and they said, you know, can you please let the family grieve before profiting or trying to get likes? Okay. And so I just want to address that because the bottom line, you know, in their comment and in their critique, they certainly, hold on just a second. Oh, give me just a second. Avery. All right. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay. So their comment, you know, saying, hey, you know, you're trying to get likes off of, you know, a tragedy, basically. So basically they're requesting, of course, that we're respectful. And so from that point, you know, certainly I agree, we always need to be respectful. But then it begs the bigger question: what is the best way to honor the life of someone who lost a life so suddenly, right? Is it silence or is it action? And I have to tell you that as a medical doctor, for me, it's going to be action every time. When we lose lives of our heroes, of celebrities, and of even just people we don't know, people we empathize with, there's nothing we can do to bring them back, right? There's nothing we can do. But I know that as for myself, my mission is to do what I can. And what I can do is try to honor the life of those lost by preventing what happened to them from happening to other people. And so if my sharing this medical information about Malcolm-Jamal Warner while celebrating the beautiful life that he lived, but if we can also share information to keep another child, even one child, from losing her father, one wife from losing her husband, one mother from losing her son, if we can save even one life from the information, then for me, that is the best way that I'm able to use my talents to honor his life. So when it comes to Malcolm-Jamal Warner, it's not about likes, it's about lives. And so that being said, Shador, let's go ahead and get into the answer, Shador, for some of our myth versus fact statements.
All right. Statement 1, again, if you're caught in a rip current, you should swim straight back to shore as hard as you can.
Okay. Now, I grew up in Florida, so I know that I always knew, you know, growing up, I learned the answer to this, but I learned that a lot of people don't know the answer. What do we have? What did they say, Shador?
Majority are saying myth. I do have one fact take on this. So Mr. says myth.
Okay. Hi, Mr.
R. Barnes agrees.
Hi, R. Barnes. Okay.
Sheree, hello, says
hey,
myth.
Sheree.
Paula says a myth.
Hi, Paula.
Over on IG, Bob says a myth.
All right. Hey, welcome, IG. Ooh, what do I have for y'all, IG? Oh, yeah, I definitely did a reel that I posted. I did 2 reels yesterday on IG. One on a story that we're going to get into today on our little 3-year-old KJ. And I also shared a little snippet that I put together on perimenopause versus menopause. There's a difference. And so I talked about that on IG. Welcome.
And we have Limitless says a fact.
A fact that you should swim straight back to the shore. All right. All right. So this is actually a myth. And I'm curious to know, for those of you who got it right, it was just about everyone got it right. Did you already know this, or did you learn this after the passing of Malcolm-Jamal Warner? Did you learn this from people sharing, you know, this evidence-based information after Malcolm-Jamal Warner? So yes, so basically with rip currents, you have a narrow passage of very fast water that is going in the opposite direction of the shore. Okay, it's going in the opposite direction of the beach. And so if you're out there and you get caught in a rip current, Common sense might say, oh my gosh, it's taking me away from the shoreline, taking me away from the beach. I better swim and try to get back to the beach. But rip currents are really, really fast. They can be as fast as 8 feet per second. Okay. Can you imagine how fast that is? It's faster than Olympic swimmers. And so even if you're a really, really great swimmer, you're going to tire out if you try to swim straight back to the beach. So instead, it is recommended that you swim parallel to the beach. Okay. And don't panic. And if you do find yourself tiring out, then you want to flip and float. Okay. You flip on your back, bring your legs up level to the ground, level to the water, relax your head, and just try to float and go with the rip current. Okay. So yeah, so it is a myth. You don't want to try to go straight back to the beach or you're tired out and you will likely drown. All right. So good work, med heads. Yeah. But common sense says go straight back. All right.
All right. Statement 2. Rip currents are responsible for over 80% of surf beach rescues in the U.S.
What we have?
Rhoda, says a fact. Hello, Rhoda.
Hi, Rhoda.
Eminra says it's a fact.
Fact. Hello.
Lisa J says a fact as well.
Hey, Lisa J.
I remember Miss Andrea. Hello.
Hello, member.
Says
Thank you for
fact.
being a member. You said it's a fact. Oh, and Miss Andrea, right after we finish doing this live, we do have our members only live. We do it at the last Monday of every month, where instead of us, doing headlines, you get a chance to ask me questions about your health issues. And for those of you who are new to the Dr. Frita YouTube channel, I am Dr. Frita. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I have been quadruple board certified. So I'm a board certified nephrologist, meaning I'm a kidney doctor and a high blood pressure doctor. I have also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, and obesity medicine. And I read medical articles every single day, no exaggeration. So I love to learn a lot about a lot. And even more importantly, I love to share. And so if you are a member, then every month you get a dedicated time just to ask me questions. Okay. And we cover a lot. Okay. We can go back and forth. You can come on stage. To be a member, just click the link in this description. You can also go to my one-stop shop, drfrita.com. It's not too late. If you want to join us for the members only Q&A today, go ahead and become a member and we'll send you a link to join us. All right. Anyone else?
And then a couple from IG. Terry and F Break from IG both says fact on this.
Welcome. So you think it's a fact. 80% is a lot. Y'all think the rip currents account for that much? All right. Drum roll. You are correct. It is a fact. And so knowing that the rip currents affect so many people and they're the reason that we have to have all these lifeguard rescues, I really am glad that we're talking about it because it's not common knowledge, but it needs to be. All right, let's do that last myth versus fact statement. And as we get into this last one, Shador, I want everyone in the chat to share if you have ever had a frightening experience in a rip current. Okay. If you've ever had a frightening near drowning experience, I want you to go ahead and share that, please.
All right. Statement 3, an area of the ocean that looks calm and safe can actually be a rip current. So we have Chip. Hello. Chip says a fact.
Says a fact. Okay. Hi, Chip.
Verlia from Facebook. Hello. Says it is a myth.
Hello there from Facebook.
Margaret says a fact.
Oh, I have an auntie named Margaret. Wait, now she says it's a fact. Okay.
Luana says it is a fact.
Okay.
Lucinda says a fact as well.
Okay.
And from IG, Miss Helen says it is a fact.
Hi, Miss Helen. Okay, so this was a mixed bag, huh? Very good. Because it is a fact. And I know it's kind of paradoxical, kind of like oxymoronic, like it seems like it wouldn't make sense. Because if we're saying rip current, you're thinking, okay, it needs to be very obvious. It's going to be ripping and roaring and just, duh, everyone should avoid it. But the reason that so many people do lose their lives or have drowning or near drowning is because it can be deceptive. Sometimes you can get a dip in the rip where things look calm. And so you might have all of these waves coming into the shore, and there might be one calm looking area on surface, and that should be a red flag, because that could mean that underneath you have some type of a churning or fast current going the other way. Okay. Some things, so sometimes it's hard to pick up, but some things you can pick up on sometimes is if you look for some churning or of foam or debris or seaweed that's kind of going in the opposite direction of the shore. That could sometimes be a hint. Also, in beaches that are known to be dangerous, they might have a red flag that might say danger or peligroso if you're in a Spanish-speaking country. Make sure that you never have too much pride to talk to the lifeguards or even the locals about which beaches are dangerous. And we are going to get into some drowning safety tips before we close. But first, I do want to know, did anyone share yes or no if they've had any kind of an experience with a rip current or a near drowning experience?
Yes, they did. And thank you for the correction, Minra. She says she has near drowning experience twice. I mispronounced the name earlier, but Minra.
Oh, how do you pronounce it?
Minra.
Minra.
Yeah.
Minra.
So
I like
near drowning experience twice.
That's some scary stuff, isn't it? And the near drowning can really give you a paralyzing fear, you know? And so that's like, so when I'm dealing with children, Ishador, you know, it's best to teach children when they're young before they develop a fear of water. Well, I'm glad you survived and came out on the other side. But if you had a near drowning experience, I know that gives you a great deal of empathy for those who didn't make it, and gratefulness for being here. Yeah.
Absolutely. Limitless Sky.
How Limitless
says,
Sky?
My sister had a near drowning experience, not in the ocean. She fell into a pond when she was younger. A stranger happened to go in to save her.
Oh, thank God for that stranger. Yeah. So I'm sorry that happened to her. Thankfully, she's here.
Absolutely. Okay. And Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
Patrick says, in 1997, I nearly drowned in my friend's pool, and my nurse at the time saved my life.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So for any of you who've even witnessed someone who's drowned, or if you had near drowning yourselves, then I know that this kind of a story hits home. And so what we will do, we'll go over some drowning prevention tips before we move on to the next story. Yeah. Okay. All right. So in this case, with Malcolm-Jamal Warner, we know that he was in natural water. And so by that, I mean a lake, the ocean, the pond, you know, those are the natural waters, which have different hazards than a pool, okay, something that's still and that's man-made. So with natural waters, one of the main things to look out for, as we've discussed, rip currents. So make sure if you're swimming in natural water that you're always aware of the hazards and how to recognize a rip current. The other thing, put on a life vest. A lot of people think that life vests are just for those who aren't good swimmers, but if in a rip current, it doesn't matter if you're a good swimmer or not. There's a great chance that you can be taken or tire out. And so if you're going out in natural water, make sure you have a properly fitted life vest. And I don't care if you're the only one wearing a life vest, if you feel a little goofy because you're supposed to be on vacation, life vests save lives. And certainly if you have your children. And by life vest, I don't mean a little floaty or inner tube. I don't mean the floaties that go in the kids' arms. That's not a life vest. I mean a properly fitted life vest that goes, you know, on your torso. You want to make sure you do that. Also in natural water, beware of hazards such as changing levels, okay? If there's a drop off, so you might be walking and you think that, you know, everything's fine and you're above water, or your kids are with you and they're above water, but ask around, ask the lifeguards, ask the locals for if there are areas with a drop off where things get suddenly deep, okay? You want to be aware of that when you're dealing with natural water. Also on the bottom of like the ocean floor, rocks, things that can cut your feet. It's best to wear beach shoes, right? To give you some protection, because if you injure yourself or you trip on a big boulder, or if you hit your head, you hit on a rock, you hit your head on a rock that's at the bottom of the sea, you could be unconscious and of course have a drowning. And certainly if you're out on boats, you know, I don't care if it's a little boat and you're just kind of tooting around the lake, put on a life vest, okay? They save lives. Another important thing, substance. No substance use when you're in natural water. I know that's a tricky one because when you're out on vacation, you might have yourself a little cocktails or a little this or a little margarita, hey, but not if you're swimming. If you're doing substances, edibles, these things alter your decision-making, okay? They alter your decision-making. So make sure that while you are planning to swim, that you're not intoxicated, you're not participating in substance. These are just a few of the clues on how to stay safe in some drowning prevention. Make sure you check out here on YouTube, my YouTube shorts. I have the one on Malcolm-Jamal Warner on drowning prevention tips, but I have other ones if you just type in Dr. Frita drowning safety. or Dr. Frita swim safety, then you'll find information. I also have it on IG for you, for Facebook, and on all social media platforms. All right. Thank y'all very much. And I thank y'all for your support here. Please go ahead and give us a like. Please give us a follow, give us a share, because we are giving you evidence-based information, as we always do on the YouTube channel here. And I thank you because we have over 880,000 subscribers. And so if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe, because we are headed to 900,000 and then to 1 million. Hey, we're going to get there. We're going to get there with your help and with your support. So I appreciate you. All right, now let's get into our weekly dose, where I give you a fresh take on the headlines you simply can't get anywhere else. You like how I said can't? You can't. I guess I'm British now. I don't know. Anyway, so let's start off talking about Hulk Hogan. Let's talk about Hulk Hogan, and put in the chat if you grew up on Hulk Hogan or if you're a Hulk Hogan fan, okay? And some of you might have mixed emotions like I do. You may have grown up being a Hulk Hogan fan, and you might have learned some things that changed your tune, which hey, on the Dr. Frita channel, we just tell it all. We tell the truth, and I'll definitely give you my opinion. But first, let me give you the evidence, okay? Because that's what you're here for evidence-based medicine. And what we do know is that Hulk Hogan, who was a wrestling icon, passed away from reportedly cardiac arrest at the age of 71. So let's go ahead and play that clip, and then we'll talk about cardiac arrest.
Wrestling legend Hulk Hogan has died at 71 years old. Correspondent Jeff Paul is live with more on this, Jeff.
Yeah, Harris, and again, a TMZ Sports reporting wrestling legend Hulk Hogan has died at the age of 71 years old. This coming through just a few minutes ago about the death of this wrestling legend that really transcended the sport, really put WWF, eventually WWE on the map. Now, medics were reportedly dispatched to Hulk Hogan's Clearwater home early Thursday morning, with operators reportedly stating that he was in cardiac arrest. TMZ also reporting that a slew of police cars and EMTs were parked outside of Hogan's home. And the icon, as they put it, was carried on a stretcher and into an ambulance. Just a few weeks ago, Hogan's wife, according to TMZ, denied rumors that he was in a coma, stating that his heart was strong as he recovered from some surgeries. But certainly there have been some rumors about his declining health in recent weeks. He was born Terry Jean Bollea in Augusta, Georgia. And again, it's really hard to put to words what he meant to sports, to celebrity, his signature blonde hair, his ripping of his shirt before a match. Truly one of the legends of the sports.
All right. So that's Hulk Hogan. And, of course, I grew up on Hulk Hogan. My grandparents were huge wrestling fans, and I grew up in Florida, have seen him before, Hulk Hogan. And, with HIPAA being in effect, I won't go into details, but I definitely do know of people who have met him, said that he was charismatic in person and all of that. And we do know that he passed away now from reportedly a cardiac arrest. So let's do this. Let's talk about cardiac arrest, okay, what it is, and cardiac arrest versus heart attack. And I want you to put in the chat, and this is going to let me know which med heads have been here paying attention. What are some of the steps you should take if you suspect that a person has had a cardiac arrest, okay? If they've had a cardiac arrest, okay? And I'll get into a little bit cardiac arrest versus heart attack. And so when we're talking about cardiac arrest, we're talking about the heart stopping or malfunctioning due to an electrical activity issue, okay? And this is different from a heart attack, because a heart attack occurs when heart muscle dies due to blood flow blockage. So for a heart attack, it's a blockage of circulation, okay, blood circulation. For cardiac arrest, the heart is malfunctioning or has stopped due to an electrical issue. Here's where things get confusing. You can have a heart attack without having cardiac arrest. You can have cardiac arrest without having had a heart attack. But in some cases, a heart attack can lead to cardiac arrest. I know that's confusing, but they actually are two different things. heart attack and cardiac arrest. And so in his case, if they're saying that he had a cardiac arrest, we know that ultimately his heart stopped or was malfunctioning due to issues with electrical activity. And, we've talked here on these Medical Mondays a lot about people who have had cardiac arrest. And, the older you are, older than 65, the greater your risk of having a cardiac arrest. But there are other things other than just heart attacks that can do it. Let's take some young examples. So LeBron James' son, Bronny James, he had cardiac arrest. You recall that. Later on, they shared that it was due to a congenital heart issue, meaning an issue that he was born with. But essentially, that means that there was something that went awry with his electrical activity and his heart stopped, okay, or stopped functioning properly. You also will recall Damar Hamlin, who was playing a football game and got hit right in his chest at the right time, at the right place, or you could say the wrong time at the wrong place, and his heart stopped and went into an arrhythmia, okay? That was an electrical activity. Fortunately, his life was saved. That was cardiac arrest. And there are many causes of cardiac arrest. I already mentioned that a heart attack can cause cardiac arrest, but some other causes are cardiomyopathy. So if you have a diseased heart that perhaps is stretched, like if you have severe congestive heart failure and your heart tissue, the muscle is stretched to the point where the electrical activity is out of whack, and it can lead you to really severe arrhythmias like ventricular tachycardia. So cardiomyopathy from heart failure can cause you to go into cardiac arrest. Also, if you have certain infections of the heart, like viruses like Coxsackie virus, that's something that can cause you to have cardiac arrest and go into abnormal heart rhythms. If you've been on chemotherapy specifically doxorubicin or adriamycin, something that's commonly used to treat breast cancer, it can cause you to have a dilated cardiomyopathy, and it can put you at risk for cardiac arrest. Alcohol overuse. Okay, if you have an alcohol overuse issue, then that can lead to a cardiomyopathy. Okay, so there are all kinds of things. Even certain medications can lead to it. Congenital problems, like whatever it is that Bronny James had, his parents shared that it was congenital. But there are also things like if you have a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, meaning that the center part of your heart, the muscle is very thick and it blocks some of the flow, that can lead to cardiac arrest. But very importantly, you need to know what to do if you witness someone having a cardiac arrest, because the sad truth of the matter is that 70 to 90% of people who have cardiac arrests outside of a hospital setting, 70 to 90% of them pass away. And in the case of Hulk Hogan, it sounds like he was in his home. And so if you do happen to witness someone, and especially if you're outside of a hospital setting, there are things that you can do to increase your chances of saving their lives, because for a person who's having a cardiac arrest, for every 1 minute that there's no CPR, no shocking, for every 1 minute that their heart is not functioning properly, the mortality increases by 10%. And so if they're out there for 10 minutes, you already know what it is. All right. So did anyone mention, Shador, some steps that you should take if you witness someone and you think they've had cardiac arrest?
Yes.
Okay.
Sheree.
Hey, Sheree. Ooh, Sheree, I'm not surprised. Come on in. What you got?
Call 911 and start CPR.
You got it. Okay. You got it.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Call 911, start CPR. Okay. Because of course you don't want to put the person in the car or try to drive. That's a nightmare, because if you call 911, the emergency medical team will be able to start life-saving measures right there on the spot and doing transport to the hospital. And yes, start CPR. Even if you're not trained, even if you're not certified, you can do hands-only CPR, right, Sheree? Where you just kind of put your palm in that breastbone, okay, in that sternum, and you firmly push to the beat of Staying Alive. Staying alive, staying alive. Okay, I'm not Beyonce, but y'all know what I'm trying to tell you. And that's important. And so I don't want you to be intimidated and like, oh, I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to do CPR, I'm not going to do chest compressions. Just those chest compressions can literally help to save a life. And you are protected by the Good Samaritan law, meaning if you're trying to do the right thing, you don't have to worry about being sued where they're like, oh, this person's not a doctor and they try to save me. No, try to save a life. So thank you. 911, start CPR. That's good. Come to the front of the class, Sheree. Anybody else?
No, not as far as steps to do.
Okay.
So that life, I guess, mentioned symptoms of what may be happening, or symptoms.
Notice
not breathing. If someone's not breathing and passing out instantly.
Very good. And in Planet Life, I'm glad you're bringing out like what lets you know if it's cardiac arrest versus just like syncope, passing out, right? If someone is just having fainting or syncope, then you expect for them to still be breathing and to still have a pulse. If someone's breathing and they have a pulse, then it is not recommended that you do CPR, right? Syncope or fainting is different. If they've had a cardiac arrest, then they've dropped to the ground, they're unresponsive, they're not breathing, they don't have a pulse, okay? And so that's the time where you start CPR. And there's some other things to do as well. One, you want to make sure they're just kind of on a flat surface and in a safe area. And then you want to look for, did anyone else say anything before I keep going?
No, not yet.
Okay. You want to look for an AED, automated external defibrillator. And, you know, AED, that sounds so intimidating, but you must remember that these AEDs, and when y'all go out, I want y'all to look at the walls, look and see where you see an AED. What that is a defibrillator, something to jumpstart the heart if it stops and someone has a cardiac arrest. The AEDs were designed for lay people, okay? The instructions are very clear, very simple. They tell you where to put the padding on the heart. You press a button and the machine tells you if you need to shock the patient. If you do, the machine tells you to press the button again and step back, and the machine will shock the patient. And so please, again, don't be intimidated. Grab an AED, call 911, do CPR, and be yelling for someone to help you with these things. So you can have more than one person helping out. So he lost his life due to the cardiac arrest, no longer with us. And in that clip that we played, they're just talking about how great he was, how loved he was, and what a family man he was. And growing up, that's what a lot of us believed. But I just have to tell you, full transparency, he passed away on what is being reported to be the 10-year anniversary where we first heard him on tape. This is documented. This is his voice. He doesn't deny it. On tape, he was saying the N-word repeatedly. His daughter was dating a black man. And so he was being very vulgar, and it is his voice. He didn't deny it. He also said that he was a racist. His voice out of his mouth, he said, "I'm a racist," to a point. He said it. So this is not speculation. This is something that he said. And I have to tell you, I found that to be very, very disappointing. And if you just kind of look at his actions, even in his last days, kind of the thoughts, the theories, the policies he supported, well, it sounds like, true to his word, he very likely was the racist that he claimed to be. So while I'm here and I'm sharing this medical information, and I certainly want us to use it to kind of remember what to do about a cardiac arrest, and while I will never celebrate the demise or the passing of anyone, I also won't be fake. I won't be fake because, he shared his information, full disclosure. And so I'm sharing my thoughts on it. And so I don't appreciate those opinions that he had about my very race. And that's where I stand on it. Okay. If y'all have anything that you want to share, please feel free to talk about it in the comments. Meanwhile, we'll move on to the next topic. Please go ahead and give us a like, because y'all see we're giving you full 360 information, both evidence and opinions based on the evidence that has been heard, just telling you what it is. But yeah, please give us a like. That's a free way to support the channel. And also, right here on the Dr. Frita YouTube channel, I have a video on cardiac arrest versus heart attack that'll give you more details about what the difference really is. And I did mention how alcohol or alcohol overuse can put you at risk. I have a video here on the Dr. Frita YouTube channel on the dangers of alcohol. So make sure you check that out as we move into the next story. All right. Now, y'all, a lot of these stories are tragic and they really, really get me. But this one got me. Okay. This is the story of a 3-year-old beautiful baby boy whose name is Katorius Sparks Jr. Okay. And he was in foster care, and he was at the daycare when an Alabama state worker took him for a visit to his father, a supervised visit. Okay. And Shador, do we have any pictures of this beautiful little boy, KJ? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So look at that baby. So the Alabama state worker took him for a visit, a supervised visit. So he was there for a couple of hours visiting his father. And then she was to take him back to the daycare. Okay. But what she did is she ran a few personal errands, reportedly. And then she actually went to her home, where she reportedly forgot that he was in her car. They called him KJ. She forgot that KJ was in her car, and she left him in there with the windows rolled up in this hot summer with heat indexes above 100. She left him there from 12:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. And this baby passed away. Okay. He was in foster care, okay, the care of the Alabama state. It was their job to protect him from his parents is what they were supposed to do. But instead, he passed away. So, my prayers are definitely going up to his family, his parents, to his loved ones. And my prayers are also going up to the other children in that system, okay? Because her only job was to protect him while she had him, okay? And she forgot him in the car. But what we will do, as always, we'll take these headlines, and we'll turn it into a way to help us to live healthier, happier lives and to give information. And this is what I want you to share, because I have a short on this here on YouTube, also on IG, on Facebook. I have it there for you, where I'm talking about ways to keep our children safe in hot cars. And I got a lot of comments from, parents and who were just couldn't believe it. And they're like, who could do that? I would never forget about my kid in the car. And thankfully, most people don't. But here's the truth of the matter. I don't know if it's just because I have, practiced as a pediatrician before, or if I'm just around some people who are trifling and who are callous, but it's something that happens all the time. And if you pay attention in certain parking lots, you will probably see it too, where a mom will hop out and run into the corner store real quickly and leave her kid in the car seat in the back. It's cumbersome to buckle and unbuckle car seats, or sometimes if a baby is sleeping and you're just like, oh, I do not want to wake this child up. And so a mom might run into the gas station, or a dad might, run into someplace real quickly. But what happens is sometimes you run in there and you're there much longer than you thought you would be. And for children, especially small children, their temperature rises much more quickly than the temperature of adults. Okay. So I want you to put in the chat, if you know of anyone, or if you've witnessed it, where someone has popped out real quickly and left their kid in the back of the car. Yeah, because I'm telling you right now, I've witnessed it. And of course, you hear about kids passing away every year from someone forgetting their child. Are these people who forget their children in the backseat, are they monsters? Or could it be that it's an off day if they are taking the child and it's a time they normally wouldn't have the child at that hour? Okay, maybe the wife is on vacation and now the dad is taking the kid, stressed at work, and he just forgot the kid. Y'all have read the stories. It happens. And so what I'm going to do is give some tips on how to prevent these things. But yeah, I definitely want y'all to share if you're just like, oh gosh, I can't believe it. I can't believe this happens. Or if you've kind of witnessed and you've seen folks pop out the car real quick and pop in, yeah. All right. So let me give you some tips. So number one, just don't leave your child in the car. Let's just reiterate that. This is not how to do it safely. Don't leave your child in the car, because 88% of children who pass away from being trapped in cars are 3 years of age or younger. And we know our little KJ was only 3 years old. And largely this is because a lot of them are nonverbal, of course, or they can't manipulate the buckles to the car seat. But also, when you're a small child, your heat rises much more rapidly than adults. And with these cars, even if you crack the windows, then the heat still rises very, very, very rapidly in the cars. And you can have heat indexes of 120 inside of the car, even with cracked windows. Okay. So just don't do it. Don't do it. It's just not a good idea. Now, what if you're someone who is, now that I'm talking, you're like, oh gosh, what if this happens to me? What if I forget my kid? You're not going to forget your kid, but here's just a way to be sure. And I used to do this out of paranoia and what I've witnessed in life. When you put your kid in the back seat, put something else in the back seat with your child, something that you won't forget or can't forget, like your shoe. Yeah, take your shoe off and put it in the seat next to your kid. So when you get ready to hop out of the car, it's like, oh shoot, where are my shoes? And you get your shoe out of that back seat, okay? Or at least your left shoe, since you drive with your right foot, however you do it. To me, that's like the most effective way. Make it a habit to put your shoe in the back seat with that child, because you know you're not going to hop out without that. The other thing, you can put something like your purse back there, your wallet, if you're someone who absolutely carries your purse with you, or an essential work bag. Okay, if you're going to work and there's a work computer that you know you won't leave, make it a habit of putting something essential in the back seat with that child. Okay, so if you guys have any tips on how to prevent something like this, put that up there. Just bottom line, just don't do it. Don't leave your babies. Here's the other thing. Make sure that your children understand that cars are not play areas, right? Kids are out in the summer, they play hide and seek. Hey, hiding in the back of a car seems like a great idea to a child, but make sure that when the car is unattended, that you close the door, you lock the door, and you put the keys in a place that's out of reach for the children. And you explain to them, when you're playing hide and seek, and when y'all doing whatever, the car is not a play area. Make sure your children, even your small children, understand that. All right. So these are just some tips. And again, my prayers go up to the family. I do know that KJ's family has an attorney. That attorney has made some statements. And so they will never get their child back. But I certainly hope that they are made as whole as possible, and that these Alabama state workers have a wake-up call so that this doesn't happen to anyone else's baby. All right. Any comments as we move on, either on the Hulk Hogan story or on the KJ story, as we get ready to get into our next story?
Yes, Maxine chimed in. Hello, Maxine.
Hi, Maxine.
Regarding the KJ leaving your child, she said, not for 3 hours. That is neglect. How can you forget about a child? They are not dummies.
Okay. And I've gotten a lot of that, Maxine. Folks are saying, we don't buy it. We don't think that she forgot. And I don't know, but and I'm going to tell you, it does seem like it's an impossibility. Here's the truth of the matter. According to the CDC, in 2024, 39 children passed away from being trapped in cars. And that's up from 2023, when 29 children passed away from being locked in cars. These are just the kids who passed away. Imagine how many other kids they had to call 911 on or to save. And so regardless if we understand it or not, it happens. And so I'm just hoping that for anyone who hears the sound of my voice, that they understand that it's not a good idea. Yeah, to leave the child even for 1 minute. But yeah, and she left that child for 5 hours. She left that baby in that car for 5 hours, certainly leading to him having a heat stroke. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of heat strokes, I'm going to post this. Friday, I was on our CBS, our local CBS Atlanta News First, and I was talking about heat exhaustion and some safety. And it was a really good interviews, a really good interview. And so I will be posting that when it comes out, but it's tips for staying safe in the heat, for avoiding heat exhaustion, heat stroke. So of course, this baby had a heat stroke. But for those of you who are working outside, and if you do landscaping business, if you're in your yards, if you are summer camp teachers and you're outside a lot, I just talk about ways to stay safe in the heat. Okay, so I'll be posting that. Something else I have going on tonight. Y'all stay tuned. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel. And again, thank you to all of my over 880,000 subscribers. I appreciate you for your support. Make sure you have your notifications on, because tonight I'm going to be on Truth Talks Live. I want you to go over to @TruthTalks-Live, and I'll be talking about Nene Leakes, specifically her son, Brent, who not only had heart failure, a heart attack, stroke, he had a heart transplant last year, and now he's been sick. And she shared this because he's showing some signs of rejection to the heart transplant. And so I get into a pretty detailed discussion about what that means. So that's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Going over to Truth Talks Live. And please tell them Dr. Frita sent you. Put something in the chat as soon as you pop over there. Say Dr. Frita sent you. In fact, go over there and look at the thumbnail right now, please, after you finish this live, where it says Truth Talks, the 8 p.m. one with Nene Leakes, and say Dr. Frita sent me. Say hi. All right. So please go ahead and give us a like as we get into this next story. This one is about Ann Burrell. And y'all remember we talked about her when she passed away, and we didn't know if it was accidental or what, but now they've confirmed that this chef, this really funny lady, and by all reports, someone who was just a kind of very kind, very warm person, we now know that she passed away intentionally. Okay, they say that she took her own life, And the real kicker is that right before she went, people saw her the night before, and they said that she was really happy, the life of the party, that she wasn't someone who was down and out or acting depressed. So what I want you to do, please, in the chat, put what you think some signs might be that someone might be contemplating taking their own life, or signs that someone is having a serious depression. What might be some signs in their behavior or their appearance or their speech or their language? And then we'll talk about some signs to look out for someone who might be considering taking their own life. Let's play that clip, please, Shador.
100 assorted pills found near her lifeless body.
EMS is on scene.
Her death under investigation as a drug overdose. The New York Times uncovering that new information. The sheer and simply shocking amount of pills found continuing to fuel the mystery behind the tragic loss of the celebrity chef at just 55.
1091.
A week after she was pronounced dead inside her Brooklyn home, Anne's family is still searching for answers. Why did this talented star and beloved force of nature die?
Okay. Do you have a deal with like the olive oil people?
Now, People magazine is honoring the bold life and shocking death of the culinary talent on this week's cover, out now.
I think Anne's death is still so shocking.
But just hours before her tragic passing, People reports she was in great spirits and even had her friends laughing.
The night before Anne died, she had a final performance for her improv for actors class. She had this hysterical one-liners, and she was just having the best time the night before she died.
How funny is this? I've never done a cooking demo sitting down before.
Yeah. So we hear all really good things about her, about Ann Burrell. And now, she passed away and we know that she took her life. And I think for a lot of us, especially if you're someone who has not had to struggle with depression, I think that for a lot of people, you think, okay, this lady was rich, she was popular, she was on TV, she had a husband, she had a family, she had a support, she wasn't hungry, she wasn't unhoused. For a lot of people, you might just be like, I don't know, this nice white lady had it all. But truth of the matter is, if someone is living with depression, and if they get to the point where they develop anhedonia, which is the inability to experience pleasure, then depression is real. It's not just a, hey, snap out of it. Hey, get over it. It's a chemical imbalance. And clearly it can poison your mind to the point where you feel like the world is better without you, or that you can't go on, which is what happened with her. And so many people who are living with depression. So what I want to do is I want to go over some of the signs and symptoms of depression, okay? And some warning signs that someone might be considering taking their own lives. And I'll find out from you med heads kind of what you all think what signs are. And also if you have had an experience with someone who's been severely depressed, so some of the things that helped you to pick up on it. And remember, for anyone who's listening who has ever thought about taking their own life, if you're in a crisis or feeling really severe, call or text 988. Okay. This is a lifeline. It's a helpline. 988. Okay. Just don't go through this thing alone, please. Call or text line 988 and share that number with someone who you think kind of has bouts of being low, being depressed. All right. Before I share, did anyone in the comment, Shadora?
Yes, we do have some comments here.
Okay.
Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Thomas says withdrawal, depression, and very quick changing mood swings.
Very good. Okay. That withdrawal, Thomas, also is a really big one, because you might notice that they're withdrawing for activities that they really like. So if you have someone who's social, who they always make the games, always make the dinner night with the girls, always make, the bowling, if all of a sudden they withdraw and they don't want to deal, or for someone who knows a big talker on the phone, they're in contact with this person, that person, but all of a sudden your friend group starts chatting and they're like, we haven't heard from them. Okay. So withdrawal. And yes, of course, depression. Okay. Just severe sadness and mood swings. And we'll talk about the mood swing part of it. So if it's someone who's been having mood swings, of course, they could have a diagnosis of something like bipolar 1 or bipolar 2. After this video, make sure y'all check out my YouTube video on bipolar, okay, and what it is, bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. But that can put you at risk for being someone who could contemplate suicide or taking your own life, certainly if it's not managed. Okay, thank you. Okay, anyone else comment?
Yep, Planet Life commented.
Planet Life. Thank you for your participation. You own it. Come on to the front of the class.
Severe insecurities, OCD, self-harm, breakdowns, and tics or Tourette's.
Okay, very good. Now that self-harm is a big one. And I know oftentimes they'll be categorized as having borderline personality, people who do the cutting or the self-harm, but oftentimes that is just kind of playing around. You're playing around vital arteries and just kind of hurting yourself. So that self-harm, that cutting, that is a big warning sign of what could be depression. and the tics. So you mentioned Tourette's. So that's really, more, it's a medical diagnosis, also a psychological diagnosis. If someone has Tourette syndrome. All people with Tourette's, of course, are not suicidal or even depressed. But yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right. TS. Hello.
Who's this?
TS. I haven't heard from TS in a while.
Hey there, TS. Welcome back.
TS says some obvious signs can be extreme sadness, not taking care of their own basic needs.
That's a good one. So yes, sadness, not taking care of their own basic needs, like hygiene, right, TS? And I've had patients to tell it to me just in such a plain way. They say, I'm so sad, I don't even have the energy to go bathe and brush my teeth. I'm so sad, I don't even have the energy to decide what I want to eat, much less the energy to get up out of the bed and go to the refrigerator. So they might stop eating very much, or they might overeat, depending on how they deal with it. They might stop brushing their hair, stop caring about what they wear, stop caring about hygiene, stop the basic needs. Yeah, that's a very good one, TS. All right. Anyone else?
Yep, I'm sorry. Sheree said they can possibly even just straight out say it.
Right, listen, right? Use your ears and listen. If someone tells you straight up, then call 988, call 911, call someone, okay, for help. Take them seriously. That's absolutely true. Take them seriously. I'm glad you said that. That's what should be obvious, but not necessarily. Because when people hear those words, you might not know what to do. Take it seriously. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And probably the easiest thing, even from your phone, or see if you can grab their phone, 988. What do I do? This person just said this, and I don't want them to sit up here and unalive themselves. Thank you. They might tell you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then Eunice shared overeating or not eating.
Yes, you got it. You heard me. That's what we were just talking about. Not eating or overeating. Absolutely. So a change in eating habits. And on that note, a change in sleeping habits, right, Eunice? They might develop insomnia where they're up all night. They can't sleep, or hypersomnolence where they're just sleeping all day, all the time. So changes in eating habits, also changes in sleeping habits. That's good. All right. Good. All right, y'all, make sure you give us a like before we get out of here. A like, a subscribe, hit that notification bell. I've got some more good stuff coming out for you. In fact, we've already put it out. I released a new video today. Where it's 7 common horrible habits that could be sending you to kidney failure. Okay. I list a bunch of habits that seem healthy. A bunch of them seem healthy or normal or everyday. And I won't be surprised if y'all find some of these habits or some of the ones that you actually do, certainly loved ones, but I'm giving you 7 common horrible habits that can lead to kidney failure. Habits that I've seen as a kidney doctor take people's kidneys out and put them on dialysis. All right. So y'all actually covered most of them. So I'll just sum this up before we move as far as the depression. So in general, when we talk about depression, as far as major depressive disorder, we're talking about 2 weeks of someone feeling extreme sadness, anhedonia, inability to experience pleasure. We hit on most of the signs and symptoms, just outright sadness, changes in eating habits. Either you don't eat as much as you used to, you eat more than you used to, changes in sleeping habits, insomnia or hypersomnolence. Also the withdrawal, we hit on that one. We hit on most of them. Not taking care of yourselves. You can also have some outbursts of aggressiveness, irritability. And for people who are to that point where they're thinking about taking their own lives, they can have all of those symptoms that we just discussed. But here's a tricky one. And this could have been Anne Burrell, because when I heard them say that she was just so happy the night before, she was so happy. One thing, you might have a person who starts giving away things that are meaningful. If it's a person who was a baseball card collector, great collection, they might start giving away their baseball cards. If it's someone who collects purses and she's really into all of the high-end purses, and she loves those purses, okay? She's really into that type of a thing. She starts just giving away all of her purses. Someone who starts giving away their jewelry. If they're giving away prized possessions, like things that you're just like, dang, you're giving away all of your stuff, giving away their car, that might mean that they've decided they're going to take their own lives. So watch that if someone has a pattern and they're just all of a sudden giving away everything. Also, if it's someone who's been low and sad, but then they seem to snap out of it and all of a sudden they're just super happy. And that's something that who was that? I think Pure Life might have touched on it. The mood swing. If they've been sad, and all of a sudden they're happy, they might have made the decision that they're going to take their life. And so now they're skipping around happy and they'll have everyone saying, gosh, she was so happy right before she left. They may have already made the decision. And so if you see a drastic change like that, that's something to watch out for. But again, 988, call or text 988, the Life Helpline, and to the suicide prevention line. Okay. All right, so we're about to close out, but we're going to close out on more of an upbeat story because these stories have been downtrodden. Lord help me. Okay, give us a like, please, as we get into this next one. And I want y'all to put in the chat if y'all have smartphones or Apple Watches, and if you keep track of your steps, if you're someone who watches your steps, because we know that 10,000 steps has traditionally been what everyone kind of has said the goal should be. Well, now we have evidence that 7,000 steps might be enough. Thank you very much. All right, do we have a clip on this one, Shador?
Researchers say you can actually lower your goal of 10,000 steps a day and still get similar health benefits. A new study out there in Australia says you can reduce your risk of heart disease, dementia, cancer, and other major health issues by taking just 7,000 daily steps. The researchers report the people who took that amount lowered their risk of death from all causes by 47%. But they added, if you already enjoy aiming for those 10,000 steps a day, there is no reason to hold back. We know Mr. Roker loves to get his steps, his snack steps.
I'm at 4,300.
All right, I think that's good news. You know, and again, if you are doing 10,000, please don't change your goal if you're doing that well. But for some people, you know, they're kind of all or none people, and they're like, man, I'm not gonna get 10,000 in. So then they don't try, like all or nothing. We have evidence now that 7,000 steps can, you know, improve your health in all categories overall by 46%, but not just health, general health, not just heart health, but also memory loss, preventing dementia, all of the things, helping you have a healthy weight. So did anyone say if they keep track of their steps with any Apple Watches or pedometers or smartphones or anything?
Yes, Limitless Sky says, I track my steps every day.
Very good. Hi, Limitless Sky. Yeah, a lot of folks are tracking. I think these smartphones and these Apple Watches and whatnot are really, really saving. I used to have a Fit. What I do with my Fitbit? I don't know. I used to have a Fitbit. My girls have Apple Watches. But I know I get my steps in. Somebody help me. All right.
No.
Who doesn't keep up with their steps?
Thomas is from across the pond. I can't remember where he's from.
Thomas, where are you from? And I'm curious, Thomas, are you active? If you care to share, I hope you're still active, even if you don't keep up with it. Because if you're a super active person, honey, you're probably already getting your 7,000 steps in at least.
TS says, I think almost any movement can help. Not everyone can get any steps in, but perhaps they can move their arms.
Thank you, TS. Because I have patients who actually do not walk or cannot walk or have severe arthritis. And so there's all kinds of things. On YouTube, just right here, you can put chair yoga in there. And there are ways, even if you move your upper body, or you can do Tai Chi, you can do yoga, you could clean it up around the house. You can do it even like you vacuuming, mopping, all of these things count. Taking the stairs if you're able to instead of the elevator. And once we finish this live, check out my video, top 10 exercises to lower blood pressure naturally. And I get into some of those exercises that actually help to lower your blood pressure the natural way, including isometric exercises like squats, like planks. Thanks, TS. Everybody doesn't have to walk to Mount Everest or Mount Kilimanjaro. There are things that you can do even if you're not able to walk. That's a very good point. I'm glad you brought it up, TS. Thank you.
Right. And Tom is from Ireland, Dr. Frita. He
from
says,
Ireland.
You wear your white coat. That's a great.
What do you say?
He missed seeing you wearing your white coat. Great doctor outfit.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what?
He's from Ireland. But Thomas been on with us for a while.
All right, thank you, Thomas. Thomas, I'm gonna put that white coat on you. But I tell you what, I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos, and on many of them, I have a white coat. So you'll be able to go and enjoy those. But don't worry, I'm gonna have my white coat on to pop that up for you also. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I certainly thank you all for joining us today. Again, make sure you go to drfrita.com for all things Dr. Frita. For my members, we're about to pop over and have our members only Q&A. We're going to go ahead and do that as soon as we click off of here. Then click on the members only link. Make sure that you go ahead, put a notification up, or go to @truthtalks.-live. Go over there for the 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show. When you see, it's going to, I think the top line might say Obama, because they're going to talk about some things with President Obama. And you also see Nene Leakes talking about her son. That's the episode that I will be on. So you can go on over there now, please, and put in the chat, Dr. Frita sent me. That would be very helpful for me for the support. But yes, if you can go watch them at Truth Talks -live, and I'll do my medical segment there. Also, stay tuned. I will be posting the video of me being on Atlanta News First, our local CBS, talking about heat strokes, heat exhaustion. And, as always, you can go to drfrita.com, grab my book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. Also, after this live, make sure you watch the video that we released today about 7 horrible common habits that can damage your kidneys. All right. I thank y'all for watching. I thank you, Shador, my co-host. And now members, come on over. We're popping over. Get your questions together for the members only Q&A. If you're not a member, click the link. You can become a member right quick. And we're having our live Q&A members only right now. All right. Y'all have a great one.